Didn't we see like 1 million concurrent streams on the
It was
Nintendo
just the
Switch?
US one.
1.2 million concurrent on YouTube during the live stream
For
today.
only the Nintendo US. There was
Yeah.
Nintendo UK, which also had like 200,000 viewers.
They just said Nintendo Switch 2 in it.
That was the whole thing.
I think they used pounds.
That's
Probably.
the only way it was.
What is up, people of the internet? Welcome back to another episode of the Nintendo Switch 2 podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Marques.
I'm Andrew.
I'm David.
Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2. And a couple other things happened this week, including Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, Nintendo Switch 2 games,
Cameras.
and Nintendo Switch 2 Joy-Cons. But let's start with Nintendo Switch 2. Actually, no. Let's talk about April Fool's Day.
April Fools.
April Fool's Day was also this week.
It did come out, though.
There were some solid April Fool's Day things. Don't worry, we're going to talk about the Switch 2. I just felt like, in the transcript, if we have a whole bunch of Switch 2, maybe that helps for SEO.
through the roof.
Nintendo Switch 2.
And we're going to title it that, right?
Nintendo
We are.
Switch 2.
And the thumbnail?
Nintendo Switch 2.
Okay, perfect. Good.
It's like the language in SpongeBob.
Nihoi doi.
Switch. There were some good April Fool's Day. First of all, we did an April Fool's Day short. It was panels. It was all white collection. It was pretty funny.
It was pretty
If you
good.
haven't
It was
seen
well
that,
done.
It was also just a PSA to like not forget that it's April Fool's Day because lots of things get announced. Did you guys have favorites? D-Brand had Touch Grass. Which is a real product.
I do like it when a company releases an April Fool's Day joke and then actually starts selling it.
Yes.
So
And like, not only that, and obviously D-Brand's a sponsor of our channel, so take everything we say with a grain of salt, but
disclosure.
they wanted to do it last year, but they made the skin and it was like flaking off too much, so it wasn't still a good product, even though it's a joke.
Just like
So
real
they-
AstroTurf.
So they fixed it.
They fixed it. They spent a whole year to wait again to launch it.
Yeah.
And launched it. And there's a Verge article about actually like all the stuff they had to do. Like they had to like laser cut the edges, which would then sort of like melt the sides so like strands wouldn't come out. And like 30% of the strands of grass are within the vinyl so it doesn't continue to fall out. But it's really well done. And I kind of want my laptop to be it.
To be grass.
I
Forever.
kind of want that too.
Grass laptop would be hilarious.
It would be a head turner.
Showing up to the coffee shop, that'd be fire.
To the building outside.
Yes.
It would blend in
Where'd
the
you get
grass
that?
a little
Bro,
too
grass.
I'm still getting comments about that.
There's still comments about that.
Anyway,
That would be a good
there
company.
are outdoor buildings. I just want to make it clear.
The Razer always does a kind of silly one, and they didn't disappoint again this year. They did the Razer Skibbity,
Yes.
the headset that lets you translate normal speak into online Skibbity.
It's
can't
both
even-
ways. It's
Real
both
time.
ways.
Oh,
So it translates Gen Z slang into plain English, and it translates your plain English into Gen Z slang.
Is it like Gen Z slang or is it like brain rot?
It's brain rot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, same thing.
Same thing.
It was pretty well done. They always do like above and beyond on the actual video aspect.
I thought it was going to be cringe when I just saw the thumbnail that just said Razer Skibbity, and I was like, oh no. But actually, it was quite well done.
It was very well.
Yeah.
Well produced ad.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
funny.
There was also an Elgato Stream Deck desk where the entire desk was just Stream Deck buttons.
Yeah.
Which for some reason feels like something Ellis would see and be like, I'm in.
Yes. I can control my entire computer with macro buttons.
Yeah, I mean, there's a company called X Keys that makes a product that's not that far away from that, and it's occurred to me a few times.
A couple times. Just every time you lean your elbow down, there's like
By the way, Ellis is back.
Ellis is back, baby.
Let's go.
But yeah,
We're
no,
finally all back.
more
All of
buttons
us.
is more good.
Hard agree. Too bad it's an April Fool's joke.
I know.
But
Yeah.
Incredible video for that, by the way.
yeah, it was. Blue Sky changed their character limit
Well, for one day.
for one day.
I saw that notification and I was like, oh. Like I forgot that it was April Fool's Day. I was like, oh, okay, new character limit.
Yeah.
And then I had to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went from 300 to 299
Yeah.
for one day. So
Impressed. I wonder how many people that actually upset. There's someone who had to go put like
I can't put the period in
Yeah.
my sentence
Okay,
anymore.
wait, actually, so I just watched the desk trailer for the first time. There is another company that makes something shockingly similar to this called Monome, like Monome. It's not quite as large, but this exists. If you want the Stream Desk, check out Monome. If you're like me.
Yeah. if you can't get enough buttons, you can finally have all the buttons.
That
Can I talk about the next?
Yes.
The next one, because this is really so. Flight Radar tracked a Concorde flight. They put it on Air France or whatever the French carrier that used to do it. And my favorite part of that is Flight Radar tweeted it. They were like, check it out. And a bunch of people really confused, not knowing it was April Fool's Day, trying to figure out if it was real or not, all went like, at Grok, at Ask Perplexity, like, is this real? And they were all just like, this is real, baby. They're flying.
Maybe they never hallucinates ever.
No, they were just in on the joke. They're so in tune with modern day human activity that Grok is April Fools and people out here.
That's good.
AI is famously good at
They're just doing it every day instead of only April Fools.
Nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Who wants to describe the nothing earbuds? Because I missed that one.
Yeah, so they quote unquote launched a new set of earbuds that is very similar to the ear opens that they have, but it has a 164-foot cable. And the idea is that you get 3.5 millimeter audio quality, but you don't have to give up on the range that you get from Bluetooth.
Wait, but they also put them on their like weird open ones, apparently. So you get the pure quality in the headphones that don't even seal into your ear.
I imagine it was to make it more obvious that there was an April Fool's Day joke.
50-meter cable is still hilarious.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Honestly, I'd be down.
I'm sort of a hater of when companies make audio products that are like more expensive just because they have a balanced connection. But this is the one hypothetical product that absolutely needs a balanced connection.
The thing though, I would love to be able to play Dota in my living room and be able to walk to my kitchen, grab a drink, use the bathroom, and never have to take my headphones off.
This is fair.
Without using the Sonos app.
I live in an apartment that has so much lead that I would never be able to have my Bluetooth connection go through both my walls.
That's not.
Which is the biggest
true.
downside.
There's no way your walls are filled with solid lead.
Bro.
You just have lead pipes.
That's what you think.
Do you know, like,
That's what you think.
but do you have to still be hearing when you walk to the kitchen?
Well, if I'm on like voice chat with a friend or something.
You can't just be like,
Be right back.
hey, 1 second.
I could. Of course I could. What do you think I do now?
You run the risk of doing that as the wireless headset where then you accidentally like go to the bathroom to take a piss and then forget to mute it and then everyone in your voice chat.
Look, this is real life, baby. You got to experience everything if you want to have my friend.
It's going to happen.
All right.
Anyway, nothing. Please make this. I will buy it.
Wait, David, I owe you an apology. Lead paint, it seems like can
Give
stop
you brain
electromagnetic. Well, if you eat it, but it also can slow down.
I have to tell you guys something. So yesterday, I was cleaning my apartment and I was putting a tripod up on this like shelf that I have in my apartment. But the week after I moved in, the apartment above me flooded, and so it like created like this crack in the ceiling. So I was putting the tripod up and it scraped against the ceiling, and a ton of lead paint and dust like fell on me. And now I'm a little concerned.
Don't worry. If you buy a Nintendo Switch 2, it'll fix everything.
You know what? You're right. Anyway, we can move on.
I just have two more quick ones.
Okay.
Monkey Type, one of my favorite websites, just went to Comic Type, so it was all Comic Sans, and I actually thought that one did trick me because we've been using Monkey Type for a studio video we're doing, and I was like, I don't think I changed this to Comic Sans.
Wait, I just went back and it's still Comic Sans.
Is it really?
April Fool's. Gotcha. It's not.
But it's not that's the cardinal sin. You can't do April Fool's not on April Fool's.
My bad.
Actually,
Wait, no, I was wrong again. Lead has no significant effect on non-ionizing radiation. I just did not want to leave that out here.
I know.
it
It's
does
it's
have a
effective
significant effect on my brain development.
yes, and ionizing radiation, but
Well-
not the stuff that's in phones and routers. Sorry.
It's okay. You spent too long correcting that. There's already 30 comments telling me you're wrong, so it doesn't matter.
I'm over 25. My frontal lobe was developed.
And the last one is Novel Keys, a keyboard website, made the Any Key set. And this is a real, like you mentioned before, you like when people actually make it. This is a real GMK set you can buy. I don't know if you guys remember the Simpsons sketch, but there's an episode where he's working from home and he's on his computer and he's trying to figure out how to use it. And it says, press any key to start. And he's like, where's the any key? And then he's like, the ESC key, the control key.
Is that
and
what it's for?
Yeah.
So you can buy a whole entire keyboard set of
It just
every
says
single
any key.
key says any key on
Yeah.
it.
Which is not too different from just the blank keycap sets,
No,
know,
yeah,
for
not
the
much
hardcore
different.
users.
I loved the blank keyboard sets. I had a DOS keyboard back in the day with all black keys. Maybe that's why I'm decent at typing, because I had to like memorize where things were.
I played Typing of the Dead for fun.
Damn.
That's right.
Yo.
It's on Steam. It's on Steam.
No, what? Oh my god.
I know.
All right.
I can't believe you did not put on this list the Duolingo cruise.
The Duolingo.
The 5-year Duolingo
The
cruise.
5-year Duolingo cruise where you visit every country and learn how to speak their language.
And if you break your streak, the Duolingo owl like shoots you down a chute out the cruise ship. Yeah. Duolingo always nails it on April Fools for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something that maybe should have been an April Fool's joke, but wasn't. YouTube Shorts views change. Do you want to describe this, Marques?
Yeah, okay. So YouTube Shorts are changing the way they count views.
All right, next.
Now, it's interesting because right now when you look at YouTube Shorts, you just see the views counter. And views aren't counted as soon as you open it. Views are counted when you watch a certain amount of time, just like a regular YouTube video. But that amount of time is a secret because they don't want people to be able to bot it and game it. So there's some algorithm, depending on the length of the short and the engagement, blah, 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 at which point you've counted as a view. But YouTube's announced that they're going to add now a distinction. So there's going to be 2 view counts essentially for shorts. One is just views that start counting the second you open a short.
So an impression?
So just 1 view. You could watch it all the way through. You could watch the first 0.3 seconds of it, but every single starting to play the short counts as a view. And then you loop it and it's another view. And then you loop it and it's another view. But engaged views will still be the same formulated, calculated view as before. So short will have engaged views and it'll have views, which will be way, way, way higher probably, because if you have a close rate of, let's say, 60% for a short, you'll have 60% more views because of how often people closed it.
Is this just to distinguish if people are actually watching shorts because the algorithm just feeds you shorts nonstop and you don't really select what shorts you want to watch?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know what anybody gets out of this. Like when I think of who gains something from this, like YouTube maybe just gets to show way higher view numbers and they feel good about that. Whatever. I feel like Facebook made that same mistake already. Why are we doing that?
And Twitter also. Remember
and Twitter
when
shows impressions.
Clowned on
views?
Twitter, yeah.
But
stock.
as a creator, like when I see a higher number of engaged views, that's still telling me the information I need to know. But a higher number of views, all that means is it was served more times.
That's what I'm saying. For short form,
do
it's
anything
like,
to make it get served more times.
It's just an impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's nothing, I don't think that my titles or tags or anything are making it be served more. I think once it's successful and has more engaged views, then it gets served more to more audiences. But I don't understand what I learn from higher
as a
views.
creator.
Like I don't know what I get.
It's like, the algorithm decided that I was lucky today.
I mean, they even said that like this isn't really going to impact personal creator metrics because what used to be views is now just what like engaged views is what they're calling it inside of your analytics. So like it's not going to impact your earnings, or I'm assuming your recommendations, or
earnings through YouTube Shorts.
Yeah, well, but even though just to like get into the partner program through, like it used to be X amount of views, it's now X amount of engaged views, which is the old views. So the new views are definitely just this like public facing YouTube being like, hey, TikTok, that person got 1 billion views. We also want to say that we had somebody get 1 billion views and look
I
cool.
guess the question is, how does TikTok count views?
I'm assuming. I don't know.
Probably.
I would assume the same way
They
because
probably
some
haven't
of those
disclosed
numbers.
that.
Yeah.
But like we all collectively as creators understand that like views on platforms mean different things.
Yeah.
Like 1,000 views on YouTube probably means like
We understand that, but do regular people understand that? Because regular people see views on Twitter and just think that that's the same as views on YouTube. And I think if you're in the industry, then you're paying for ad rates, then you have to know about the distinctions. But I think regular people probably don't know.
I would argue the ad rate pay people don't understand it either.
Then they won't be in business for very long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we have to know the difference between a view and like a full view all the way through. Like we look at like how long people watch individual videos. So we have view count, but we also have engagement numbers and metrics to sort of figure out how successful a video is. This, I don't know what I get from this.
It's YouTube patting themselves on the back and being able to be like, probably so they can sell more ads inside of their shorts player, because they can be like, look how many views we're getting in this.
True.
And not use impressions anymore, even though it's just the same thing. You just changed the name.
Yeah, I guess it's just impressions.
I mean, that's
It's just
what
impressions.
Twitter did.
It's
too.
what Twitter did, yeah.
They just changed
And we
it to an impression.
harped on Twitter pretty hard for it.
Wait, I have a question. You were saying that basically the views to get into the partner program remain the same.
Yes.
So
Essentially.
this doesn't make it harder or easier to get into the partner program?
Changes nothing.
It
changes
changes
nothing.
what we were calling views before are now being called engaged views, and that is still what's being counted for monetary stuff, for partner program stuff. That stays the same.
So basically the only thing that this tells you is how often you were fed into the algorithm.
Yes.
How often it popped up on someone's
for
screen,
someone.
essentially. Which is like, do you remember years ago when like Facebook first, like scrolling through your feed, if a video just popped in, they counted it as a view because Facebook wanted videos to seem more important on Facebook?
Well, it's also saying YouTube says, this is an article from TechCrunch, says YouTube says that it's making the change because it heard that creators want to understand how often their shorts are actually seen. The idea is that creators can now better showcase the full extent of their reach.
They could do that already. It was in their analytics.
But can I play
public.
devil's advocate for 1 sec here?
No.
I'm putting myself in the shoes of a professional short form video creator, like only short form, right? And you have to self-advocate, sell ads for yourself. And it seems like on all the major platforms, TikTok, Instagram, X, I don't know if Blue Sky does short form video scrolly feeds, but
They do now.
They do now. Blue Sky. You have effectively one way of measuring your views for that, and then YouTube is on this island. And I could imagine it would disincentivize those like professional creators from using YouTube as much, because now all of a sudden they need to provide 2 one-sheets, 2 analytics papers to their ad folk. So maybe it's just about
to align with the rest of the
It's just
industry.
evening the playing field among other misrepresented views.
Yeah, I was going to say.
yeah.
No, I also fundamentally disagree with this, but I could see it actually in a weird way being for creators.
I agree with you in that the best way this helps a creator is like, I get to bring this to third-party brand and try and do a brand deal with that. But this is only going to last for X amount of time before they realize like, oh wait, these views, I'm not getting the ROI like I was, and these views are different, and now I need to change if they're smart enough.
Totally. But now a creator could package all of the view numbers from all their platforms into one number and have that be a more genuine number.
Because it's all counted the same way.
But it still would have to hit the same on every, and there's still different levels of. We do times where like, even if you think TikTok and Reels are similar, like we do videos that get 50,000 on a Reel and 500,000 on a TikTok, or vice versa all the time. Also, I still think you need to generally package your things differently per platform.
You're right.
But also devil's advocate.
Devil.
It just allows YouTube to go to advertisers and just be like, but look how many views we get on our platform. Like, you should advertise with us. And
Yeah, impressions on long form videos have never been public. So only the creator has been able to go into the analytics, find the impressions number, and then go to the company and go, this is how many impressions my videos are getting.
yeah,
As a advertiser, I don't care how many impressions you're getting. It's not helpful to me. I want to know how many people actually click on it. Because an impression is my thumbnail got showed in some search results or some browse features somewhere, and I scrolled right past it. That's an impression.
yeah.
I don't care about advertising in that video if that impression, if they didn't click. So I only care about engaged views, people who go in and click and watch the video.
Do you think advertisers or brands that want to work with creators like know the distinction?
I guess I thought they did, and I think to be a good one, you have to, but maybe not all of them care.
Here's a little inside baseball. Okay. I know a lot of people who work for agencies that work for brands, and the brand just tells the agency, get me this much reach. They don't care about what's technically correct. They don't care about, because the agency just needs to hit the quota, and they don't necessarily worry about, will this actually have influence? Will this actually have real reach?
That's totally true.
I can just put a number on a sheet and then I get paid. The more you abstract away the person who actually wants the result, the less it matters whether or not that result is real.
So now YouTube's back in the playing field for all of those who just want the numbers.
I mean, considering like most of the advertising world is run by agencies and people who are not being directly paid to get more views.
I just think that number will change with this change because they're going to realize eventually, like, we're aiming for this number because in our minds it equals X return on investment. And now that number is not getting us the same amount of return on investment anymore. So we need to bump that number higher.
But the rest of the industry
but it's been true about the rest. So, like, will they realize it or will they just keep getting the views and then moving on with their lives?
I think that's
their job.
probably the more likely scenario.
Then people are going to lose a lot of money. But I also agree that I think most agencies and companies are using social media really poorly and have no
because if you
idea
just
what
have a
they're doing.
job and you're just working for someone and they just give you a quota, you're just going to hit the quota. You don't have like a personal incentive to actually have influence. You know?
I still think this is stupid and YouTube made a mistake on this and it's just an
But also
impression.
think about from YouTube's perspective where if literally everyone else is lying to everybody and then YouTube looks like they suck as a platform, like what are you supposed to do?
Yeah. Every marketer is getting paid to hit 1 million impressions. And so if you're a marketer and you're getting paid to hit 1 million impressions and you're going to go pay and get a bunch of ads, where am I going to go? I'm going to go to TikTok and Reels and the ones that have the highest numbers.
Right.
And so this puts YouTube back on the map for them to spend money.
Even though they're lying. It's a race to the
they're
bottom.
all lying the same way now, at least they're back in the playing field.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a reason, and this can be the last note on this because we've probably gone too off that, but like, is there a reason we get this?
Wait. Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah, thanks for keeping everyone engaged for one more
go
second. I just have you noticed we don't ever remember any of these marketers or anything because they probably all go out of business in like 2 years because they're all basically just doing really poorly for the companies by promising this stupid shit. So
yeah, none of us love agencies.
Dude, we'll get 10 different agencies in 2 years reach out for the same company because like they're all terrible and all playing the game wrong. So is that really a benefit now? I don't know. It's stupid.
We live in a society.
YouTube, you guys are doing great already. You don't need to fake like this to
But shareholder value.
Shareholder value for a brief.
Do you want the
banned,
boat to
man.
sink?
Get banned.
Yeah, do you
Sorry.
want? Come on,
I don't know
you
why
want
this
the
made me so
5-year
mad.
Duolingo cruise to sink.
Do you just remember our numbers on Twitter videos? It was like, it said you had like 5 million views and 4.9 million of them X'd out in the first 1 second.
Yeah.
It was, it makes no sense
But
to
I'm
count
the
that
only
as
one
a
who
view.
saw that number.
Yeah, no. Most agencies, though, do request analytic screenshots afterwards. So I think they'll catch on to it sooner than later.
We shall see.
Moving on, Nintendo Switch 2. Actually, no, not Nintendo Switch 2. Just a couple other small things that weren't actually that small, but we'll just talk about them briefly.
$33 billion small thing.
In a what is most likely a reshuffling of money and investor capital in order to get an easier way to raise money, XAI has acquired X, which is just a fancy way of saying nothing.
I feel like that kid in the David Blaine sketch where like he does the card trick to him or he does the coin trick and makes it disappear off the top of his hand and he stares at it for a few seconds and just goes, cool. That's my reaction to this headline.
Yeah, I think all of this just has to do with the ability for X to keep running and raising capital, because now if X is owned by XAI, XAI can easily raise capital. X cannot easily raise capital because of all the problems they've gone through and how they're over-leveraged on Tesla shares. So it kind of seems just like a way to keep X running because it's super easy to raise XAI capital.
Forbes was reporting, and this is like I think I agree with you, but the other small part of the story is that this makes it easier for Grok to get trained on Twitter user data,
Which they were already doing.
but now it's more in line with US privacy laws now that they technically own all that user data.
I will not comment.
Cool.
Awesome.
Cool. Okay, we'll move on.
Something else AI is screwing up.
So you guys might have seen over the weekend, there was a big thing that happened where everybody started making themselves Ghibli-fied because OpenAI released their image generation model that is built into ChatGPT that is much more realistic and way better. It's the 4.0 model. So it's the deep thinking model. And it just kind of caught fire that people started making themselves into a Studio Ghibli kind of character.
Yeah, you would like upload a photo and say, can you make this in like a Studio Ghibli animation style?
So Sam Altman tweeted, the ChatGPT launched 26 months ago was one of the craziest viral moments I'd ever seen, and we added 1 million users in 5 days. We added 1 million users in the last hour. That was over the weekend because of the amount of people who wanted to do this, because the 4.0 model at first was just released to OpenAI Plus subscribers, and then they released it to everyone later. So everyone just wanted to make Studio Ghibli versions of themselves. This is highly ironic because Studio Ghibli's creator notably hates AI-based animation and famously said that it was an insult to life itself.
If you haven't seen that video, I showed it to Marques, like explaining this to him the other day. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's funny.
From a few years ago, but basically someone had shown him, look, this was generated with AI. And he was like, this is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen.
It was from a documentary. I think it came out in 2016, something like that. But I will say, in their defense, although I do agree with Miyazaki, but the clip that they showed him that AI made was really grotesque. It was for a horror movie, and he was like, "Why would anyone want to do this?" Like, I think he literally says, "Like, if you want to make creepy shit, go do it somewhere else. Like, I'm never putting this in my films." Something like that.
It's weird. I've seen both sides of this on my timeline. I know it's hard to believe there's two sides, but side number one is using AI to create art, stealing from the studio art, like not asking permission, all of the negatives of it. And the other side was, honestly, it's pretty good. Actually, the way I saw it, was
Counterpoint.
I posted the last video. We had this really cool thumbnail that Tim made, which was the ChatGPT logo like falling out of the iPhone and Apple Intelligence and talking about that stuff. And I posted like the before and after of like the idea behind it and then the final result. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, I thought you made this with AI." And then they started trying to make it with AI themselves. And they were like, "Yeah, I could have made that with AI. Here's a version with AI. Here's a bunch of versions I just made with AI." And they weren't very good, but that is a real person that exists that's like, whatever, like I could just make it with AI. Not everybody has access to a team, Marques. Like you got to just be able to make art for free and cheap. And at a certain point, it's going to be faster and better. So you might as well just get on board with AI anyway. I saw that crowd on Twitter too. So I'm not shocked that this blew up and people were all entertaining themselves by just making Studio Ghibli versions of whatever they could think of, memes, famous videos, famous movies, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was an interesting narrative.
What I did enjoy was there was a lot of people who were like making art of themselves, and then people were like quote tweeting them and being like, "This you," and it was like their last tweet from 2 days ago being like, "I can't believe this person stole my video clip and used it for this." Yeah, that was quite funny.
If you think Studio Ghibli movies are so moving because Miyazaki draws really good, you're you're missing the point. Like that's great that you can use a robot to poop out something that looks like it was drawn by him, but if you think that is the same as like making something as like touching as those films are, like go for it, but you're totally going to replace artists. You're going to do such a good job out there.
I did see someone make a point though saying, yes, you can make these AI cartoons in like seconds now, but it took that studio decades of work to get to that point. So this isn't going to be the case like forever. Like you still need artists doing their thing.
I think that's a super fair point in a lot of things is how long it takes to get somewhere. Cause I think a lot of people, even in, what we do are like, how come Marques can make a 15-minute video and it can make all this money? It's like, because he's dedicated 17 years of his life to getting to this point with that audience. Like, there's always more to it than just the initial output in that time. But
yeah, and also originality is missing. And like when you train something on something existing, you can make derivative work, but you can't. I guess by definition, can't make original work. It's always trained on something.
What would be cooler as a gift? A picture of you in Studio Ghibli form that was drawn by the creator or by AI. Like one of those is going to touch you a little more.
Yeah, I think that
one's impossible to get, but
well, that's like a very deep conversation in sort of the artificial intelligence community. It's like, aren't people also just combinatorics of things that they've experienced and learned?
True.
That's the whole argument.
That's the devil's advocate.
That's the devil's advocate.
But we've got to talk about Nintendo Switch 2, so we don't have time to get into that.
Yeah, okay.
Nintendo Switch 2 trivia?
Nintendo Switch 2 ad break,
trivia
and then
break?
we'll do Nintendo Switch 2 trivia.
Oh, if they sponsored this episode, that would have been awesome.
Nintendo?
I guess we couldn't talk about it.
We couldn't do
then.
that.
Yeah.
That would be
unethical.
bad.
Yeah, we would never do that.
We
but
would
you know
never
what we
do that.
would do?
Nintendo Switch 2?
Bring Ellis back from Mexico with an absolute banger of a trivia question. Hit the air horn. Let's go. All right. So we had a bunch of great April Fool's jokes from companies this year. None that were super annoying, which was really nice. But I have in front of me 4 April Fool's jokes from tech companies in years prior, and you need to tell me which one I, Ellis, made up. The first one, Tesla goes bankrupt, April Fool's Day, 2018. Elon literally tweeted an announcement of Tesla's bankruptcy.
You did that.
B, Google mic drop from 2016. Google added a feature to Gmail. So there's the send button, and then there's the send with mic drop button right next to it. When you hit the send with mic drop button, the whole point of it was they said it will be the way to have the last message in any email chain. And when you hit the send with mic drop button,
I can't reply.
It adds a GIF of a minion dropping a mic to your email. And unfortunately, they removed the feature before the end of the day because so many people were hitting it accidentally. Because surprise, the average Gmail user does not read the Google blog.
That made the world better.
I would pay extra for that.
Even though that is super cringe and super Google thing to do, I would love to see the amount of corporate emails that accidentally did that.
Enterprise and education users did not get the feature for that exact reason.
Allegedly, if it's real.
Allegedly, if it's real. I mean, I pretend like it's real until the end.
Right.
You've done this before. C, Hulu launches a new service called Who for 8-second clips of their shows.
People have actually launched that before.
Yeah.
We've heard it. It's called
Wooby.
It's called
TB.
Ghibli.
Oh, wait, that's a real one.
We got tagged in one the other day that was like,
Yeah.
every time you guys make
was
one up,
Tubi.
another one comes out. And
It was Tubi.
It was Mubi.
Mubi? Yeah, but Mubi has been out
Mubi's
for
real.
a while.
Yeah. Okay, and the last one, D, the Nikon D5100 selfie mode from 2011. So the iPhone 4 had just come out. First iPhone with the selfie camera. People were really, really into it. So for April Fool's Day, they announced that their D5100, the mirror was getting an extra 45 degrees of tilt, allowing light from the viewfinder to hit the sensor, effectively giving it a selfie camera.
With like 2 photons total.
That's pretty funny.
Interesting.
That's pretty funny. Damn, okay. So I got to think of which one is made up.
Yeah.
Because the rest are real.
Yeah.
Well, we'll think about it. Answers will be at the end, like usual. We'll be right back.
Nintendo Switch 2.
Support for this show comes from Shopify. Running a new business takes a lot of courage and determination. There's a way to make that business successful through grit and grind alone, but you're going to want some help along the way. Thankfully, there's Shopify. It's the partner in your corner to help you sell your product and have your consumers find it. Nobody does sales better than Shopify. Home of the #1 checkout on the planet and the not-so-secret the Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Their powerful social media tools let you connect all of your channels and create shoppable posts so you can sell everywhere people scroll. Plus, Shopify can help with the finer details of actually managing your business, like shipping, taxes, and payments, all from one single dashboard. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Mattel uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/waveform, all lowercase. So go to shopify.com/waveform to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/waveform. Support for Waveform comes from the podcast Tech Unheard. Imagine being able to be a fly on the wall for a one-on-one conversation between some of the most innovative leaders in the tech world. Tech Unheard is a new podcast from ARM and National Public Media that lets you do just that. The show is hosted by Renee Haas, the CEO of ARM, one of those companies on the leading edge of tech innovation. And in each episode, Renee sits down for an unscripted conversation with a tech world luminary. Together, they analyze the most pressing trends in their space, all while sharing a few entertaining anecdotes of success and failure along the way. In the first episode, you can hear Renee talk with his old boss, Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA. They dive into Jensen's journey, the future of AI, and how NVIDIA's unique culture of relentless innovation continues to push the boundaries of technology. Other guests include Mike Gallagher, the former congressman and head of defense at Palantir, and economic historian Chris Miller, author of Chip War, the fight for the world's most critical technologies. Listen to the conversations that are shaping our world on Tech Unheard. Tune in to Tech Unheard from ARM and NPM, wherever you get your podcasts. All right, welcome back to the Nintendo Switch 2 podcast. We've got some Nintendo Switch 2 to talk about, believe it or not.
Surprisingly.
This week, Nintendo fully unveiled, detailed Switch 2 specs, games, compatibility, features, accessories, a whole bunch of stuff, price tag, release date that we hadn't known. So it's all out there now. And people can decide now really if they're going to spend their money on the Switch 2.
It was never an option for me.
I mean, you were always going to spend the money.
That's unfortunate.
But now you know how much money you're in for.
It is.
They could have said any number.
Because now it's a little more than I want to spend, but if it was a lot more than I wanted to spend, I'd been like, well, that's how it is.
Well,
You know what I
for
mean?
those wondering, $449. If you were somehow under a rock, if you're
You're a gamer, you cannot afford this. I'm sorry.
if you were under a rock the past couple of days, because didn't we see like 1 million concurrent streams on the
It was
Nintendo
just the
Switch?
US one.
1.2 million concurrent on YouTube during the live stream
For
today.
only the Nintendo US. There
Yeah.
was Nintendo UK, which also had like 200,000 viewers.
They just said Nintendo Switch 2 in it.
That was the whole thing.
I think they used pounds. Probably.
That's the only way it was.
The day we're recording this, so look, I'm trying to immerse myself back in the Switch 1 and really get ready to make this video, but we're recording this on Wednesday, and I'm planning on making a Switch 2 hands-on video tomorrow, on Thursday.
I'm so jealous.
And I'm doing this because lots of people are asking about the Switch 2. It's clearly very popular. But I've been trying to figure out how many people are going to watch the Switch 2 video, and I think now it's going to be a lot.
It's gonna be 15 million.
No, it's not going to be that crazy. I mean, the last crazy video
You're
that was
wrong,
kind of
I
like
guess.
the same vibes was the PS5, because
Yeah.
it's every 7 years or something crazy.
Like 8 years.
And
yeah.
so all the hype gets built up, and then we unboxed the PS5, and it had like 10 million views in 2 days or something.
will
Minimum
have the
15
same.
million.
It had
minimum.
1 million. This is the only video I've ever made that had 1 million views in the first hour.
This will get that.
PlayStation 5 unboxing.
This will get that.
So I don't think it's going to be that
I don't know
much,
if it'll be quite as much.
but it should still be interesting to see, how many people are
I'm with
talking about
David.
the PS5 this week.
PS5 also came out 2020. So at the end of COVID, there was
Yeah,
so
that
much
was, like,
going on, so much
everyone's online.
that gained 100,000 subscribers just from that video.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And we made it at 8:00 at night.
Yeah, it was just an unboxing. I couldn't even turn it on or do anything. I just unboxed it.
This
Anyway.
will do that.
So this is the hands-on. But what we learned this week was all of the details of all the new things with Switch 2 versus Switch 1. So the price tag is one of them. It's $449. From there, I mean, some basic spec improvements. We don't have like CPU, GPU details, but we have a larger screen, obviously, with a thinner bezel. It's still the same thickness of a console, so it'll just kind of feel like flat and bigger. I love that. It's a 1080p 120 hertz display. It's an LCD.
7.9 inches. Also.
7.9 inch HDR support.
120 hertz.
I
love that.
look. Everyone says you don't notice 120 hertz versus 60.
That is not even. Does
And-
anyone say that?
Yeah, because every time we talk about the iPhone, I'm like, it's 60 hertz. I can't believe it's still 60 hertz. And then all of the internet goes, nobody can tell anyway. And now the Switch 2 comes out, and everyone's like, yeah, 120 hertz. I've been waiting for this.
The biggest problem on the iPhone.
So which is
that
it?
It's like the home screen that's 120 hertz on the iPhone, and like most apps are still 60. That's the problem.
No. Most apps are 120. It's like the mapping apps are still 60 and like a couple, but most of the apps are 122. And I noticed that with scrolling through everything and like moving around the UI.
Maybe it's a screen size thing.
Yeah, I mean, on this big of a screen, you got to go 120. I'm just like, for all the people who have been yelling about how nobody notices the difference between 60 and 120, I better not see you buying a Switch 2 for this feature, okay? But it has 120 now, so there you go.
Yeah.
It'll do 4K out to the dock to a TV, so
4K
that's awesome too.
4K
60.
4K 60.
Okay, that is reasonable though because most TVs do not go over 60
Most of your
hertz.
TVs are 4K.
I know there are some, but most of
interpolation.
them don't.
Yeah.
That you should turn off.
But that's good to see. But the other big new thing, I think, with the Switch 2, aside from that stand, which I think is nice, is the new Joy-Cons. The new controllers are massively updated. First of all, I think my favorite feature is the magnets, how they connect to the side.
How they work.
How do the magnets work.
Yeah.
The SLDL buttons, sorry, SR,
The buttons.
what are they called?
Yeah.
SLSR. Those buttons at the top are much bigger. They're also made of steel, metal that interacts directly with the magnets inside of the Switch 2, which is how they stay connected.
That's how they work. Yeah.
So they double function as buttons and connecting with magnets. which I think
Unfortunately,
is sick.
we thought that there was going to be a polarity switcher. It is much simpler than that.
Nah,
it is a piece of plastic that
metal.
pushes it off of it. which is fine.
Totally fine.
It is fine.
They're also they have like bigger buttons. They added a button which is the C button, which is how we can talk about that software feature in a second.
I think the Joy-Cons in general being bigger, just like it was always so cool you could, break a controller to have two controllers, but they were always ergonomically small.
Horrible.
And like you needed to put that extra little like wrist wrap bigger button connector onto it, where this looks way better to play with horizontally detached by itself.
Yeah.
It also has mouse support, so they kept doing this thing where they turned it sideways and put it on a table, and I suppose there's like an optical sensor in it, so you can do things like moving it around, rotating, and there are games that support mouse control with the Joy-Cons. I haven't thought that was a good idea yet, but I want to try it. They were showing a golf game where you could like move the putter around and change the angle. Does that seem cool?
Kind of feels like the most gimmicky part of the Switch to me.
Yeah, I think my overall take with the Switch is they didn't miss on any of the things that we were hoping for.
I agree.
But then some of the extra stuff on top is like, oh, okay, interesting.
I will take gimmicks on top of everything we wanted. Like, I'm mad at gimmicks when they didn't give us something that we asked for.
Yeah.
Right.
But if they gave us the 4K bigger screen, 120, all of that stuff, and then give me a gimmick, cool. Like the PS5 controller triggers that have the like different feedback. It's not in that many games.
Yeah.
It's kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
But you had everything else on the so I was pumped about
I
it.
wish more games supported that.
I'm less pumped about the mouse thing than the PS5
Yeah.
controller trigger, but
Yeah. Huge quality of life update, extra USB-C port on the top. As someone who was just using their Switch for the first time in a while a couple of days ago, and it's dead, it is extremely hard to use at all while it is charging because that's charged from the bottom.
Yeah.
So if you're not playing docked, it's hard. So now you can plug it in from the top. That can also be used to plug in different accessories like the camera, which we will talk about later.
Yeah.
one more thing in terms of if you're playing it standing up like on your thing, the new kickstand has multiple different angles that it can adjust to as well, which is really awesome.
Yeah. The Switch OLED had a new kickstand too that was way better, and it was made of metal.
And
it was very cool.
As good with the same amount of things as the
It went down very, very far,
cool.
kind of like a Surface Pro.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So, yeah, these new accessories are interesting. So, like we said, it has two USB-C ports, so it can be docked. And then on that top USB-C port, you can plug in the Switch 2 camera. And basically, the way I feel like I was watching this video, and Nintendo's just acknowledging that the Switch is a very social console, and there are people who have Switches who are not in the same place, and they can still take advantage of all playing the same game and making it feel as social as possible. We're all used to Zoom and being on these little like video squares, and we all see each other. So you point this camera at yourself, and a lot of Switch 2 games will actually have a feature built in where it will like include your picture over your video game stream as you're playing the game. So if you're playing a game, you can see other people playing the same game or different games at the same time.
Right.
You have a microphone on the top. You can chat with your friends. You can see your friends. Apparently, it's got AI noise cancellation, so if other noises are happening in the room and the Switch is across the room, it can still pick up your voice.
Yeah.
So it's a more social experience. You don't just see the character on the screen, you see your friends with the camera.
Like a big part of the camera is this new feature called Game Chat, which is included if you have Switch Online, but you have to pay for it, unfortunately, after...
Free for a year?
You get the free first year.
Yeah, after like the beginning of next year. But basically what this lets you do, like you were kind of talking about, is it will show your main screen on your screen, but then it also shows the screens of your friends that you're playing with.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, like you mentioned, is that you can be playing the same game and it'll show their games at the bottom. You can also be playing different games. And if you have the camera, it does this sort of like AI cutout thing where it cuts out your head and like stitches it to the corner.
Yeah.
And so it can show your reactions while you're playing Mario Kart or Mario Party. And I think that is really, really important. Like during COVID, when everyone's playing like Animal Crossing together and Super Smash Bros. Together and stuff, you didn't really have that party experience from like being in person with people and like seeing their reactions. And like that's a huge part of the fun of gaming with people. And so being able to actually see their reactions in their face is very, very cool.
In Mario Party, it's one step further where generally you would have like the little circle next to your character that would show your avatar. Now it just shows straight up your face and your camera feed.
Yeah.
So like attached to your character playing Mario Party, your face is right there. Like that's a awesome way of doing it. I mean, everyone who plays games on like the computer, they're used to having Discord and party chat. I know PlayStation's like incorporated Discord, but this is a first party voice chat all set up inside your system already, and now that you have a camera, you can either play Mario Kart, see everyone's reactions on like the bottom of the screen, like a Zoom call inside of everything, which was brilliant.
It's so awesome. I think it's the closest thing that you can do to actually being in person with people and playing with them in your living room.
And not having to set up a Zoom call on the side, which
I've done.
I'm sure all of us have done. It's pretty annoying.
It sucks. Yeah.
Now they also showed us feature where if you and a friend are both local and you both have a Switch, then you can share a game that only one of you has to the other Switch so you can play it at the same time with them.
Yeah.
Now they showed this kind of like basic, like sort of backgammon looking game. So I'm interested in what other games will end up supporting this, but the idea is, okay, I have a Switch, I have this game, I want you to play with me, but I don't want to break my controller off and hand it to you and we play on this tiny screen because you also have a Switch.
Right.
So I will share essentially some files, some part of the game with your Switch. We're both local, we're on the same network. Now we're both playing on our own Switch, but in the same game.
Yeah.
I think that's cool too.
I think that's very cool.
And we'll see what games end up supporting it. And then the other thing that was kind of big to me, because I've had my Switch for a while, I have a 32 gig Switch, and I didn't buy a micro SD card, so I have 3 games on my Switch, is the base storage is 256 gigs now instead of 32.
Marques tried updating the games the other day, and it just
don't have
froze.
room.
It said you can update 2 of the games. Pick 2, because the third one, not enough space for that.
Wow.
But now you can put way more games on the Switch. Now the question that we have a lot of unknowns with the Switch, and I'll start to go through those. We don't know how big the new Switch 2 games will be. So 256 gigs is great, but I also assume that Switch 2 games are going to be bigger because they're higher fidelity and they have more graphics, and that might still only be room for 3 games.
Yeah.
But yes, there is still micro SD Express support. You need a faster card because you can still put a card in.
Yeah.
So that's one. Number 2, I haven't heard or read much about battery life. It's still as thin as it was. I assume the battery is a similar size. I don't know if the battery will be significantly better or worse, or
taller,
larger.
It is bigger, but
it's a
you have
larger
bigger screen.
system.
So anytime you have a bigger screen and a bigger battery, you end up kind of canceling some of that out. So I don't know if they've made any announcements regarding like fast charging or having a significantly better battery in any way, but I'm wondering about that.
Yeah. I think it will have better battery life because usually bigger screen, bigger battery, the battery still has an edge. Like if you look at like the iPhone Max, it's a bigger screen, but there's a bigger battery, and it usually has better battery than.
I guess like this screen is so much bigger and brighter potentially.
Yeah,
and higher refresh rate.
And the games, because they added they also added a fan to the dock, so they're kind of acknowledging it's gonna get hotter.
Yeah, so TBD on that.
Yeah.
I guess those are the 2 main unknowns for me. Also things like durability, Joy-Con drift, any issues that might come up, we'll see.
Yeah, the question is like, are these Hall effects Joy-Cons? That would be a good question because
they didn't say those words.
People were making like Hall effect mods to the Joy-Cons before because the Joy-Con drift was like a major issue. I assume Nintendo would have kind of tackled that problem.
They had to know about it, so I hope so.
Oh my god. They've known about it for a very long time. Yeah. So hopefully they tackled that. They didn't mention anything about it specifically though, which is interesting.
And then we'll see what games come out for it, because there will be, kind of as they mentioned, there will be Switch 2 games, which will have all the optimization. They'll take advantage of the camera if you have one and all these cool features. If you get Switch 1 games, some of them will be compatible. And then some of them will get updated Switch 2 versions of them, which will, again, take advantage of the features.
Yeah. Well, you have to pay.
You have to pay.
You have
to buy like an upgrade pack.
An upgrade pack, yeah. Which I do not like very much.
No, I think that was the biggest L of the announcement, although we don't know pricing. Hey, wait a minute. I don't know where this is being incorporated into the episode, but it is Thursday. I have Ellis sitting next to me.
What's up?
When we recorded this directly after the event, not everything was out. One pretty big piece of news came out, and that is Mario Kart World will be $80 for the online version and $90 for the physical copy. There's also some weird thing about physical copies. There's a lot more we're discovering, but I just wanted to put that out there. We did not know these pricings.
No, we did not.
So the rest of the conversation, understand that, and next week, I'm sure we will learn so much more about pricing and the Switch 2, and we'll update everything next week.
Seems like there's also some ray tracy stuff coming out, and some digital versus physical stored download in the cartridge. We don't know if the cartridges still taste bad. Please enjoy the rest of our Switch 2 discussion, and just know that we were still in the dark when we had this conversation, but now we see the light, and next week we will share that light with you.
Next week for Switch 2. The switching.
Part
Switch
two.
to
Part
electric.
two.
Yeah.
There's big updates and there's small updates. Like there's games that got a whole new world that you can play in, but then there's like the Zelda games which have better fidelity. Basically, it's like brighter HDR support and like higher resolution, but you have to buy that.
Yeah,
which
so I'm
is
wondering how
weird.
much of a difference those updated versions of the games will actually make. Is
And
it
how much you have to
just
pay.
fidelity? And like, how much is it?
If it was like $5 to $10, I think that's understandable. But if it was like 20, that seems like it's pushing.
20 would be tough.
Yeah.
Sounds
What?
like the game, yeah.
So pricing wise, the only thing we didn't mention is I think the camera's $50. You said.
Yeah. So the camera is $50.
Okay.
The console is $449, and there's a bundle with that and a new Mario Kart game called Mario Kart World, which is $500. So you're basically paying $50.
Yeah, but it looks like a sick game. But what do we think pricing wise on that?
$449. So the original Switch, way back when it launched, was $299 at launch.
Yeah.
Considering how much better this one is, how much bigger the screen is, and inflation, a bunch of other factors, and now it's 2025, I'm not mad at $449, to be honest. That's just me. I think some people will think about, I'm going to buy the Switch, and then how many games am I going to buy, and then how much total am I spending, and then you kind of have to think more about that. But
Yeah,
I'm not mad at the $449.
I think it's quite a lot.
It's high,
Yeah.
but it's not like absurd to me.
I'm not surprised by it. I was hoping it was going to be $399. But I still think it fits in that slot of not, correct me if I'm wrong, not as expensive as like a PS5 or the new Xbox. It still like slots in under those more expensive game consoles. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, the original.
Although I
Switch
guess
was-
at this point it's out years and years after those two
Yeah.
launched.
Yeah.
But
PS5 Slim is $500. So if you get it with the bundle, it's the same price as the PS5 Slim.
the Switch one was 2017.
Yeah, I know.
So it's been
It's been 8 years. Yeah,
8 years, and it's gone up $150 total.
okay, PS5 is $499,
yeah.
PS5
and the
's
digital editions with no disc drive is $399. So yeah, it's more expensive than those. They did come out earlier. Yeah, it's like kind of a tougher price, but also we all know it's not going to deter anybody from buying it.
It will
that was
deter,
interested in buying it.
I think it'd. I mean, a big seller for Nintendo is the parents who buy it for their kids at Christmas, and the difference between a $300 console.
Oh yeah, but none of us thought it was going to be $300, right?
No, but I thought maybe $379 because yes, it's much better in every way, but it's also been 8 years. So it's a lot easier to buy a 256 gig NAND chip to put in
That's
the
totally
device. It probably costs the same or probably actually less than it cost them to put a 32 gig chip in it 8 years ago. So
I'm very curious about the new screen. I want to look at this new screen. I want to see how much better it actually looks. I appreciate the 4K 120 or the 1080 120. Thank you. But yeah, we'll kind of have to be a judge. We're again recording this before I get that hands-on, and I'll sort of try to detail that in the video. So if you guys haven't already watched that video, by the time this podcast comes out, that video should also be out. So check out the hands-on video.
there's no embargo on the hands-on.
Nope, it's just going right up.
That's insane.
Yeah, should be
Wow.
fun. But yeah, that's Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2.
Yeah,
Mario
there's-
Kart World looked pretty sweet.
So I've mostly not played a lot of Mario Kart, but it seems like the open world concept is a big
Sort of.
difference versus the original Mario Kart. Like Mario Kart, you kind of get people who just like memorize exactly how they play certain maps, and then you just go crazy. Where the gameplay that they were showing, and these people were just being very social about just like driving around, just seeing what's happening, not really racing as much, which is interesting.
There's a couple things where one's called free roam, where you can just roam around the maps and like take photos with your friends and stuff, which
Yeah,
is
they just
like if
pause
you're
to take
really
a
into
picture.
it,
I was
that's
like,
cool.
Is that Mario Kart?
I thought what's cool is so like one of the ways you play normal Mario Kart is a Grand Prix where you play 4 different maps that are all in one, but it used to like segment them into you play Rainbow Road and then you play whatever map, and now you drive between them inside of the Grand Prix, which is really cool. And then there's another one called Knockout, I believe, where because in this game you can have up to 24 players on a map, which is the
a
most
lot.
they've ever had.
Chaos.
But they kind of have it. It's not within the Grand Prix. They showed it quickly. It seems like there's a map of all the different racetracks, and they take a large chunk of racetracks. You drive between them, and then there's checkpoints within the racetracks where it'll knock out like 8 people in the first one. So if you're not within the top 16 as you hit that, you get knocked out. And then so you drive further and further and further, and these longer and longer iterations of different maps sequenced together, and then until one person's left at the end, which I think sounds really cool.
It's the chase.
The chase.
Sounds fun.
That's how the NASCAR playoffs work. When they first introduced that system, they called it the chase. Now
Except imagine if they drove from Talladega to Daytona in between.
In the NASCAR. That would be kind of sick, not gonna lie.
They can in fact go 500 miles. So
yeah, they just don't turn right very well.
And they could go.
That's
500.
not true. That's such a third of the season has right turns.
Yeah, but they set up those cars a certain way for certain tracks. So just be careful on those city streets. I'm just saying.
Yeah, there's something else. They're releasing this game called Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour. Yeah, this is a pretty big L from me because you have to buy it.
Oh, you have
That's
to
the only
buy
thing
it?
I have a problem
Like,
with.
Oh.
It should have been free.
Yeah, I mean the Wii came with Wii Sports,
And the PS5 came
And
with
that's-
Astro's World.
Did it come with
Astrobot.
Astro's World?
You got that for free.
I don't. I think they released an Astrobot bundle later.
Astrobot was the game they
Yeah, was it-
announced after. Astro World was the one
Was
that
it
came
Travis
free with
Scott
the
one?
first PlayStation.
You're right.
Yeah.
Was
You're
it really
right.
called that?
And so
Oh,
I think
Astro's Playroom.
Astro's Playroom.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
that is the Travis Scott.
That's why I said
we are.
Astro's Playroom on the
spreading
PlayStation 5. But that was the same thing. It was like a demo. You get all the
Yeah,
strings.
I think it's important to be able to show users like all the benefits of the console that they're playing, and I think that they made this game like the Welcome Tour game actually looks very cool, where you run around a giant Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2,
Same thing PlayStation did.
and you basically just like you look at the different parts of the console, and it tells you really interesting tidbits about it, and it teaches you how to use the mouse and all this stuff. Why would you have to pay for that?
That's crazy.
That makes no sense. Like,
Yeah.
you release Wii Sports for free with the Wii, which is one of the most iconic games of all time. And then you have to buy the basically like glorified
Demo.
guide of how to use the console. Like, that's crazy.
Is it going to be, did they say a price?
They didn't. They just said it was a paid digital game. I just think that's a huge L. It should have just
that's
come.
bad.
It should have come built into the console.
That was a big miss. Yeah.
Who's gonna buy that?
I would never have bought Astro's Playroom, but because of how good it was, I learned a lot about what it was capable of,
Yeah.
and then went on to go get games that I thought
Yeah.
would take advantage of the features.
Teaches you the new features.
But if I didn't have Astro's Playroom, I would not have learned a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So being free, being included, being easy to access would have been awesome for this demo.
Other things they just released, or they're going to release this new game that takes advantage of the mouse control. It's sort of a combination between basketball and also you're in a wheelchair, and it's a whole thing.
It's Rocket League in wheelchairs.
It's
pretty
Rocket
much,
League
and
with
basketball.
wheelchairs and basketball, which is interesting. But it's not using existing IP, and it's focused on the mouse control. And I think that it is more beneficial to release existing IP that uses new play interaction because it gets people to do it. Like when The Legend of Zelda not Skyward Sword.
Don't get this wrong.
Twilight Princess came out. They released it concurrently on the GameCube and the Wii. And the whole thing that was beneficial for the Wii was that you could use the motion controls to kind of use Link's sword. And so they released this new IP that teaches you how to use the motion controls and really plays into the motion control thing. And that's awesome because people are going to freaking play Zelda anyway. But they're not planning, like, people are not planning on buying this game that's like Rocket League with wheelchairs and basketball. You know what I mean? It's just kind of a random.
It makes the most sense of how they work, because if they need to be flat down on a table and pushed on both sides, it's like the two wheels of a wheelchair, and you can like wave to get the ball passed to you and stuff like that. You're right, though. I don't think a lot of people are going to play.
Yeah.
Or it's going to
Yeah.
be like an instant cult classic and everyone's going to
Maybe.
be obsessed with it.
Yeah, maybe
I
it'll be
don't
great.
think that's what's going to happen, but it could.
Maybe it'll
That's
be
probably
great.
what they're hoping for. They talked about a bunch of different games. Does everyone want to pick like one they saw
that they liked.
that they liked?
Okay. Oh, wait. Oh, I'll get there anyway. Kirby Air Riders.
Oh,
But, okay. Kirby Air Ride was a GameCube game that encapsulated much of my
It
childhood.
was so much more than a game.
It was more than a game.
It was an epoch.
It was an epoch. It was an epoch. There's core memories burned into my brain of sitting in my living room playing that game for like hours on end with my friends. So Kirby Air Riders, I'm extremely excited for.
there's one that just, it felt like they were trying to hit me in the nostalgia personally. It was a new Tony Hawk game. And they're showing it, and I'm like, oh, I remember Tony Hawk. I don't know if I would have that much fun anymore. And then within the last 3 seconds of the gameplay, they're just like SpongeBob level, and then cut, and it was like Tony Hawk. I was like, what are you doing? Just like out of nowhere, he's just like
Andrew.
in bikini bottom.
They know their core audience. They're like, people that play Pro Skater were also SpongeBob fans, so here
That
you
is
go.
a solid overlap.
That is
No.
very smart of them.
I see NBA 2K is coming, so I'm curious to play that. We'll see how that is.
On the airplane.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
won't be playing online, but I'm a big My Career guy, so I could play anywhere. 6 hour flight. Trust me, I'm on that grind.
Were
I'm
there
gonna be
games?
developing my player.
Were there games that you guys were excited for? I don't know.
Pokemon Za, baby.
Did you ever play Arceus? Legends Arceus?
No.
Oh well, it's the other
Pokemon
one.
Za? That's what it's called?
It's
Pokemon
Pokemon Legends
Z to A.
ZA.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's Japan.
What is Project 007?
It's a James Bond game.
They showed very little. It literally was just like the opening looking down the barrel 007 scene, and it just said like 007, the world's most famous hitman or assassin.
Because hot take, I thought the Wii release of GoldenEye, it wasn't like a remaster, it was like kind of its own thing,
Yeah.
was one of my favorite Wii games.
Really?
Yeah, so if they can do this right, I'm pretty into it. Also, I apologize if any of you heard Zuri snoring. It's hard to wake up a cute puppy. But
I didn't hear it at all.
Perfect.
Don't wake
okay.
her up.
we've done it
How
twice.
dare you?
But possibly one of the biggest announcements. GameCube is coming to Switch Online.
For a small fee.
Well, as part of Switch Online. Yeah, I mean, you have
Plus
to.
expansion.
That's the last
Yeah, the
Nintendo
expansion.
console that I played a lot of.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
Like I had a friend, actually my friend who had the GameCube also had the Nintendo Wii, but that GameCube does have some little bit of nostalgia in my heart. Just a little bit.
People have been asking for them to add this for so long. And so you're going to be able to play Wind Waker. You're going to be able to play Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness.
Original Kirby Air Ride,
Potentially original Kirby
Super
Ride.
Monkey Ball,
So there's so many. And then
Wave Race,
I'm
SSX Tricky.
so many good games. They're also releasing a GameCube controller that is wireless that can hook up to the console, so you can play those GameCube games more natively.
They could charge $4.49 for that, and it would fly off the shelves. Still.
yeah, true. And then it also has an additional C button to do the,
Right.
to do the community chat stuff. So I'm very excited for that.
Marques, have you ever?
want to
Sorry,
relive my childhood?
have you ever played any of the Civ games?
Civilization?
Oh, I thought you said Sim. Nope.
I guess I'm an idiot and never realized they were on console, but they showed Civ 6 and it sounds. I'm hoping the console controls are good because rotting on my couch and playing Civilization sounds like the greatest thing ever.
Sounds like
because
you get
doing it in your chair and when it's 5 a.m. your back's starting to hurt. But if it's 5 a.m. and I'm just lounging on the couch
TV.
with a nice blanket,
Dude, according to Wikipedia, it's on Android.
oh my god! Don't tell me that. I'll get nothing done.
Dude,
That's a great. You should play more. I think you would like that game. It's super low key. You can play as much or as little as you want, and
If
by
I
as
got enough
little I mean
storage.
as much as you want. And
We'll see how much storage I end up with. I'll try that. That'll be one of my first few games on the Switch too.
literally all of the games that are coming for the GameCube are just my childhood, just wrapped in one.
This is most
Super
gaming.
Mario Sunshine, Chibi Robo, Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, Super Mario Strikers.
If they want to hit me in the nostalgia personally, I'm going to need Truck Simulator.
Are you serious?
18 Wheels of Steel.
Are you serious?
18 Wheels
I think
of Steel.
they
I
do
just
have
want.
that on Switch.
I hope Marquez plays Truck Simulator with the split Joy-Con horizontal with only those controls.
The Joy-Con is the mouse control, and I'm just using the wheel like this.
It's the shift. It's the
and I
shift.
shift
manual
gears
shift
it.
with
Yeah.
the mouse control.
And I have to get a new.
So you have nostalgia for Truck Simulator?
Yes, sir.
I'm just like shocked. As someone who also plays really boring games, I did
Yeah.
not.
No, bro, I customized the heck out of my truck. I was going cross country.
You guys are broken human beings. I don't understand why you would have.
Was.
Oh, we've evolved.
Yes.
We've evolved.
I'm fat. I had no idea.
Yeah. So
I've never even heard of this game.
Nintendo will get there.
Oh, there's Tractor Simulator, there's Truck Simulator,
Farm Simulator.
Goat Simulator,
Switch 2. Anyway.
Nintendo
Yeah.
Switch 2.
No, this has been fun. Hey, watch the video if you haven't already. Check out the hands-on. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Switch 2, Switch 2, Switch 2, Switch 2.
Nintendo.
Trivia time.
Can you ask them if you can have an additional person follow you into the room?
Yeah, but
no
spot's
reason.
taken.
Can I keep it?
Did we mention that it launches
June 5th.
June 5th,
Probably not.
2025?
and
call.
pre-orders begin in 1 week from of time of recording, which is the 9th of April. But But if you have had a Switch Online subscription for 1 year and you have 50 hours of playtime on the Switch, you'll get an early access pre-order invite for April 8th, which ya boy meets the requirements for.
I think that's super reasonable. That can also deter a lot of people from trying to flip this.
Yeah, I wonder how many people that trims out. 50 hours.
Well, it trims out people who've never played the Switch before that just want to try and make a ton of money off of it.
And you have had to pay a subscription because you would have to have paid the subscription for a year before today.
Yeah.
So nobody can like game the system now. And I think that's very smart.
I think that's good.
It's going to be the hardcore people are going to be able to buy it right away, which I think is awesome.
Someone's going to have to like sell their account that has all the requirements so that the bots can get in.
Your boy is selling his, so if you want it, you know where to find me.
Taking bids right now.
Taking bids.
$1,000.
$451.
Oh my god.
Trivia.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Next question.
What Nintendo Switch game?
Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, yeah. But we also briefly mentioned Mario. Fun fact. Mario's first appearance was not in a Mario game. What game was it?
I know that. Sounds like, was it Mickey Mouse? Like, this is the Mickey Mouse lore, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Mario
lore.
The Mario movie, right?
Yeah, it's the Mario movie.
The Mario movie.
That's the first time we ever saw Mario.
The first time we ever saw Mario was in Steamboat Willie.
Yeah, I definitely don't know this one.
Yeah, he was the villain in Steamboat Willie.
Yeah.
He was trying to plumb the ocean so that the ship would sink.
Oh, wait,
And all
I
the
actually do know
shareholder
this
value didn't hold it up anymore.
Nice. Okay.
Well, there's a point that you guys get and I don't. All right. Well, hey, we got one more section after the break. Be right back. Support for the show today comes from Notion. There is no shortage of helpful AI tools out there, but making use of them might mean switching back and forth between other digital tools. So instead of simplifying your workflow, it actually ends up feeling more complicated, unless, of course, you're in Notion. So Notion combines your notes, docs, and projects into one space that's simple and beautifully designed, and you can do it all while taking advantage of their in-house AI-powered tool, Notion AI. Notion AI it's fully integrated, and it helps you work faster, write better, and think bigger, doing tasks that normally take you hours in just seconds.
We here at Waveform have used Notion, and we have to say, if you think Waveform is hectic now, without Notion, it would be a blabbering mess.
Yeah, we always say Waveform is the most consistent channel here at the MKBHD studio, and it would not be possible without all the organization of it behind the scenes in Notion. We keep track of our scripts and ad reads and thumbnails and title discussions and posting times, and then all of that's happening while we're also doing 3 clips a week, and it's all organized in Notion. So you can save time and write faster by letting Notion AI handle the first draft or jumpstart something with brainstorming or turn your messy notes into something more polished. Plus, you can even automate tedious tasks like summarizing meeting notes or finding next steps. So you can try Notion for free when you go to notion.com/wave. That's all lowercase letters, notion.com/wave to try the powerful, easy-to-use Notion AI today. And when you use our link, you're supporting our show, notion.com/wave. Support for Waveform comes from Kinsta. So we can all tell a good website from a bad one. And I'm not just talking about design. You can tell when the tech isn't really working and there's clearly an issue going on behind the scenes. But just because you can tell the difference between a good site and a bad site doesn't mean you know how to run one of your own. The simple fact is, if you want to keep your customers engaged and your visitors' experience secure, you don't just need great content, you need great backend. Thankfully, Kinsta can help you manage your WordPress site so you can focus on the million other things that are also going on. Their expert team handles it all. They've bundled up all of the essentials so it's easy for you to manage your WordPress site. That means you can stop being a one-man support team. You can enjoy your newfound security that never sleeps and a dashboard that's incredibly intuitive. And when you hit a snag, you'll be able to talk to real humans 24/7, 365. So in short, Kinsta is perfect for those who want professional results without needing a technical background. All right, welcome back. There's still a little bit of other stuff that happened. Surprisingly, a lot of things happened in the tech world this week. An article was published about future Meta smart glasses plans. Maybe not even that far in the future. Maybe this year. Meta's coming out with smart glasses, codenamed Hypernova, that will be over $1,000 and have a monocular screen in the lower right-hand side of one of the lenses. And so that will give you a visual UI and a whole bunch of things that come with that. I am not surprised by this. I think it could be cool. We all are very familiar with how popular those Ray-Ban Meta glasses have become, which just have the speaker and the Meta AI and the camera lens on the front. This would be able to give users a lot more control, a lot more visual experiences. Obviously, they can translate things in front of you and show you arrows where you're supposed to be walking and driving, things like that. So, doesn't shock me. It'll be interesting to see when they come out, but cool.
There was a time when I was optimistic about the future.
Damn, this got dark.
When Google Glass was announced and everything was exciting and fun. And now, considering it is Meta, I just think they're going to track your eye movement. And that's going to be used to sell you ads.
As far as I know, there's no camera at your eyes.
Yeah.
Well, in Quest, yes.
I don't know. Sorry to be the way I am.
That did come up around the time of Google Glass. The technology was nowhere near that good yet, but people saw Google Glass and fast forward it in their brain all the way to, I'm going to look at a blank billboard and in real time someone's going to buy that ad space personalized to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to have to pay for ad block for it to be like blurred or something.
Which I could see Meta doing.
But the technology also has to go a really, really long way to get to that even being a possibility, whether the companies like the idea or not, which is they have to have the ability to overlay tracked objects over the real world, which is like barely possible.
Do okay.
And also then track your eye movement and place personalized ads on those billboards. And then the infrastructure of like having blank billboards in the real world.
None of that's even remotely possible with what they're talking about here, though, because it's in the lower right hand of your eye. It's not even in your eyesight, and there's no cameras on your eyes.
So monocular screen is just being able to show you something kind of like Google Glass. It would be kind of just like a small little thing hovering over the real world, which is still cool. I would like to be able to have that. But
you'd have to like specifically look at it. Like this is not something that's coming in augmented reality because it's probably in the bottom right. So you'd have to like, it'd be in your peripheral. You have to be like, oh, I got a notification, look down kind of thing.
Is this better or worse than checking your smartwatch in the middle of a conversation?
it's way better.
Really?
It's so
like
much
if we're just having conversation and then you like look all the way in your bottom left.
I'll tell you why it's better, because I've tried some of these and I don't know what it is, but the association that people have with when you raise your wrist up and check it is like rude. Like you're ready to leave this
But isn't it
conversation.
normalized now?
It is a little bit, but I think in conversation, obviously eye contact exists, but there's a lot of just like, looking at the horizon, like thinking about stuff. And in those glances away, you can literally read something. And so it's, in my opinion, way less intrusive than checking your watch.
But then you're just going to get distracted and you're not going to be able to actually hold a conversation with somebody.
David, what was that? I was reading this ad that got,
it's going to be so much more likely that your brain is going to be moving towards another thing, and then you're going to forget what you're talking about with the person in front of you.
It is a balancing act. The demos that I've had so far were very intentional. So they were like, I was talking to someone speaking another language, and the transcription of what they were saying was appearing on the glasses live in front of me. And I alternated between eye contact and reading that transcription pretty quickly in a way that felt pretty natural because it's glasses.
Yeah.
Where I don't think that would have worked as well with a phone or a watch trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. If it's just I'm talking to you and a notification appears, that does feel bad. That feels like I'm going to I just got distracted.
Yeah, I can see in specific contexts it can be very useful, but when taken to the extreme of we're just going to show you all your notifications that are on your phone, it's like you're just going to be distracted all the time.
Yeah, I'm assuming I only have certain notifications that come up on my watch. So I'm assuming within the Meta software, you can pick which notifications you want to come up. I'm sure there's a do not disturb mode.
Yes.
I mean, ultimately, if you're the one letting all of those notifications come into that space, then you're just probably the type of person who doesn't care about a conversation as much. Like, you still have to control those things.
Did you have Slack notifications on your watch?
Me?
Which one of you?
I do.
No, Marques is everything. His watch goes off the entire time we're in this
blasting.
podcast. It's
constantly.
insane.
It's telling me Miles just finished a workout. Oh, by the way, there's a Slack message.
Oh my
There's just
God.
constant things happening. I had a kind of a hot take. It's not even that hot of a take. Maybe it is. We'll see.
Do it.
Who has the minimal phone? You have that light phone?
Not on me, but I could go get it.
So no, you don't have to get it. I just think, here's the take. We live in this world where humans can just get smartphones and can have this incredible access to all the world and information and social media and emails and everything around us. And to many people, it is very distracting, and they end up wanting to go, this is too much. Give me a minimal phone where I don't get distracted by as much of that stuff. If you are so distracted by your phone that you have to spend extra money for a worse phone, you lack discipline.
Well, okay.
And you should just
That's not fair.
using it.
That's not fair.
Because these companies literally, they understand human psychology and they use ways like Meta.
One at a time.
On Facebook Messenger,
triggered several
I
people.
literally Facebook Messenger will send me notifications that are like, "Hey, check back on this conversation you had with this person 5 years ago," because they want me to open the app.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I understand where you're coming from, because I think most things in life, there are many like quick tricks to like fix your problems quickly, but those never work, because ultimately you have to develop the discipline to actually like going to the gym or like doing all these things. Like, you have to actually just want it so bad that you do it. But these companies are actively trying to get around your discipline.
Yeah.
So yes, it's kind of your fault, but it's also the company's fault.
It is definitely shared responsibility, but it is kind of a crutch.
I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair to be like, you're undisciplined when literal billions of dollars are being spent to like break your discipline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I am one guy, you know what I mean, compared to the world's investors funneling through Meta's veins, just trying to get me to pull out my phone 6 extra times per day.
Right.
You know,
I just think the minimal phones, like when I look at the ads for them and when I look at what they actually are, they are a black and white phone that only lets you make phone calls, text, and there's a couple of like a Maps app, a couple other basic things like that.
That's the light phone.
The light phone.
We should differentiate between the different.
So I guess
minimal
the goal
offerings.
of something like a light phone is that you literally cannot open Instagram and scroll.
Right.
And you literally cannot open the web browser.
The light phone, yes.
And yeah, that line between I need a phone where I can't do it because if I have the ability to do it, I just will. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people use these. Sorry, I'll let you have some time.
I feel very strongly about this.
I'll let you have
I didn't
some
mean
time.
to. I was just going to say, don't think of it as I need this as a crutch. Think of it as I am putting a wall between me and the billions of dollars being spent to make my life worse.
To make your life worse.
Yeah, because these companies know that, like, remember the big Meta leak where they knew internally what their products do to teenagers' mental health. They were fully aware. They had all the research, and they didn't stop, because it's not about making your life better. None of these, I hate to break it to our audience, none of these companies release tech products to make your life better. You know?
I actually am not so sure about that. I think that there is upside and downside, and that the companies who are trying to sell you the upside are trying to minimize the downside, but they're very aware of the downside, and it is a huge downside. But the whole like connect to the world and have access to what your friends are posting in general is not like, I hope to ruin your life with these photos.
No,
but there is a big downside.
But they knew. These companies know internally that the way they're serving it to you, the way they're sending you notification ads, the way they're presenting its data to you is to increase usage time. It's to increase the amount of time, it's to increase engagement, the amount of advertising, the amount of ads you see. So I think that buying the minimal phone is not just about, I can't do this myself. It's about, now you can't do this to me.
Yeah. I'll use, that's a fair point. I'll use YouTube as a specific example. YouTube, I would think we all agree here is a pretty net positive service.
I
Probably
agree.
is better that YouTube exists in the world.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube is actively in the business of trying to maximize how much time you spend on their website. Every little micro decision that they make, every decision we get confused about, why did you remove the like button, dislike button counter? Everything that they do is trying to maximize satisfied watch time. That is how a channel becomes successful. That is how a video becomes successful. That is how YouTube becomes successful. They show you more ads. They maximize how much time you spend on the site. At a certain point, you can fall down a rabbit hole, become addicted, spend way too much time on YouTube, and there is that downside. And trust me, YouTube is very aware of those downsides and the things that happen on their site. And they do a decent job of trying to minimize a lot of that stuff. I hope I never have to buy a phone that doesn't have the YouTube on it because I am that addicted to YouTube, but I very much depend on YouTube and use it all the time and accept the downsides that come with how much of an upside it is to have that experience.
That's a fair point.
So there's balancing acts.
Okay.
All these
You're
things.
right. You're right.
Another counterpoint. YouTube is like owned by Google, right? So they have a little bit of
I guess by Alphabet, but yeah,
by Alphabet,
whatever, same thing.
So they have a bit of a padding for one, not being able to make or not needing to like maximize to the highest degree possible all the time, and they're able to sort of optimize, like you said, for like satisfied watch time to make you feel good about the platform to come back to it.
It's slightly different, I guess, because before they just optimized maximum watch time, but sometimes people would arrive on a video and watch it and then leave halfway through because it wasn't what they were looking for, and they tried to like get people out of that funnel and into a different video that they would enjoy faster, meaning that you do watch the video. So it's not necessarily a positive emotion; it's just actively finding and choosing and staying on the website longer, basically.
Yeah. They've also built an algorithm that is incredibly good at showing you things you actually like.
Yeah.
I think that a platform like Meta, where, you know, Instagram or Reels is completely dictated almost. I mean, there is a search function, but does anyone use the search function on Instagram besides to find someone's account? No. So whereas YouTube is like, it is very much a choose your own adventure besides the homepage, which does drive a lot of views. So I think having more active control over what you're using the platform for makes it less addictive than something that just feeds you dopamine constantly.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube does have a shorts carousel.
Yeah,
and
and
does a lot of the same
recommended.
stuff.
They do, but
And you'd be surprised how many people
autoplay.
use search on TikTok. I'm surprised by that all the time.
Yeah.
People like search for recipes, search for trends, search for
true.
restaurants.
I did see someone search for a specific video on Instagram last week.
Apparently, it's like if you are in an
they'd seen
area
before.
and you search on
I've
TikTok
tried, yeah.
for like a certain restaurant, you'll find little viral restaurant reviews in your area and then can visit that space. So it's interesting.
That's the reason I can't go to my favorite bakery anymore in Chinatown.
blew up on TikTok?
Because it blew up on TikTok.
Dang, I hate when that happens.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, that's why it's a hot take.
So are we
Anyway, sorry.
pro Meta glasses?
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
I didn't
like-
mean to take this down a...
Well, Meta glasses, again, will have an upside that comes with a downside. As we mentioned, it will be very useful for things like live transcription or showing you directions or whatever you're doing, but it will absolutely come with the downside of distracting you with notifications when you don't need them.
yeah.
I can't imagine driving on the highway and getting a notification in the corner of my vision and how that isn't a horrible thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
You get some and you lose some at the same time.
My hot take is I would not have been as annoyed at this if it was literally any company but Meta that was making them.
Well, trust me, there will be more companies making
I know there will, and they will probably be near levels of like, I don't know about this, but Meta is possibly the worst one in my humblest opinion.
They're all bad.
It
They
would've
all
been-
just want to
they're all
make
bad.
money. I
This-
think we all understand.
I know that.
However, if Meta had done this in like 2011, 2010, you know, back in the Google Glass era,
It would have been
it
fun.
would have been hilarious because it would have been like,
Facebook.
Andrew needs more sheep in Farmville.
David
Walking
poked
down the
you.
street. Yeah, David
Yeah.
poked you.
What?
Yeah.
Anyway,
So we'll find out by the end of 2025.
last tiny little thing. Delta Emulator, which is this awesome emulator for iOS that there are multiple stories about because they basically had it on this separate app store until they were officially able to put it on the real app store. They have now released an update that lets you do online multiplayer for Nintendo DS, and I think that's super cool. So congrats on that launch. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
without any further ado, it's trivia time. I think we need new erasers.
Trivia time. All right, we were talking about April Fool's jokes. I have 4 in front of me. I'm going to read them real quick, and you guys tell me which one I made up. 1, Tesla goes bankrupt. Elon announces a Tesla bankruptcy on Twitter. 2, Google mic drop. You can email anyone a GIF of a minion dropping a mic with a touch of a button. C, Hulu's new app Who, which is 8-second cuts of TV shows. Or D, the Nikon D5100 selfie cam, which allows you to take selfies out of the EVF. Or it's not an EVF, it's just an OVF. It's an optical viewfinder. Yeah, you get it. All right.
SLR.
Which one did Ellis make up?
I'll pick the same thing.
We all picked C.
Is that what you
Hulu.
picked?
Let's see.
Pac-Man.
I drew a C and then I drew a bunch of other stuff around the C.
Wait, is that a reference to Google's 2017 April Fool's joke where they let you play Pac-Man
No, I
with
forgot
Google
about
Maps?
that. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Oh, and Google
That was one of
Maps.
the best ever. But no, I just got carried away with the C.
Very good. You're all wrong. I apologize. Although
the Nikon thing.
it was the Nikon thing.
That was
I
very
made that
well
one up.
created.
Thank
yeah,
you.
because it
Good
would be a
call.
good April Fool's Day joke.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I
Nikon's
appreciate that.
not
And I didn't even use AI to think
That's
of
what it was too good.
Yeah,
That's
the
why
thing
it
with
was-
the Who thing is that there are real services that try to do that.
Well-
So it's kind of funny to make an April Fool's Day joke around other people's business models.
Well, this was 2017, so
That's fair.
They were ahead of the time.
yeah.
Anyway, Adam's going to read the score and then give you your second question.
Marquez with 15. Andrew with 7. David in the lead, carrying the 1 with 16.
Really, only one?
Yeah.
Damn. What happened to my lead?
I know, sorry.
And for his 17th season, Bobby Moynihan. No one. SNL sounded like anyone. No.
Question number 2. Mario first appeared in what other game?
Damn.
Yeah.
I am not going to get this.
You might. That's why I picked it.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid.
Got it. Snake and his famous companion, Mario.
Elden Ring.
I'm just trying to think of other games that aren't named after their main character.
Skyrim. He's definitely been in Skyrim at some mod.
in a mod,
There's a
yeah.
mod where Mario is in
There
Skyrim.
are definitely many mods.
Metroid Prime.
Fortnite. All right.
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
What do we got from
And
the
Mario Brownlee.
Marquez, you can do better than that. What did you say?
I didn't know that was a game. I said solitaire. I don't know games. Come on, guys.
Andrew,
Donkey Kong.
David,
Donkey
correct.
Kong.
Yes.
Country.
So,
Kong's a
do you remember the old Donkey Kong game where like Donkey Kong's standing at the top throwing barrels down the?
the chutes and ladders.
Yeah, I thought Donkey Kong was derivative of Mario, actually.
Well, Mario's
That's
the
what I
guy
thought.
jumping in the game.
You play as Mario
And with the
in Donkey
hammer.
Kong to rescue Princess Peach.
But it was
Is
called
it?
Donkey
Wait, is
Kong.
it Peach or is it?
It's called Donkey Kong.
Have to do with
Maybe
It's
that's
not
not
Peach.
Peach.
It's not Peach.
Marquez, I thought you would get
I
that
assumed
because
it
it's
was
like
Peach.
the only other Nintendo game that's like mainly pop culture. I was like, if he just picks another, I never played it either, but if you just picked another one,
You've
I
never
was like,
played
he
the
might
original
get it.
Donkey Kong?
I've never played it.
Uncultured swine.
And with that, we will end the podcast. Hey, but
Wait,
like I
that's not
said,
Peach.
Nintendo Switch 2. If you haven't already watched Nintendo Switch 2 hands-on, check that out. Should be on the channel. What else do you guys have to say? Anything else?
Nintendo
Mario
Switch
looks
2.
crazy in Donkey Kong. It doesn't look anything like Mario. It just looks like a.
Oh,
That looks like Wario.
you saved Pauline in Donkey Kong, and Pauline is a character in Super Mario Odyssey, so they bring her back.
Okay.
Jesus.
I also want to make it known today that earlier I named all 7 Pokemon. And it was,
You want to name them again?
All 7?
Yeah.
There's a lot more than 7.
I named all 7.
I don't think you got to 7.
I think I got 6.
There's
I think you
6
got
Pokemon.
6 with a really good hint
No, I
at
got. I
the
think
end.
I got 7.
I can name 26 right here.
Damn.
yeah,
All the unknowns. Take that one, nerds.
yeah. There's
I can
Agumon.
name 27. Piplup.
There's
Mercury,
Renamon.
Venus.
Neptune.
All right, let's wrap this. Let's wrap this up.
Thanks for
boys.
watching. Thanks for
Angemon.
listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for suggesting stuff for next week. Catch you guys later. Peace.
Waveform is produced by Nintendo Switch 2. Adam Molina and Ellis Reverend. We're partnered with the Vox Media Podcast Network, and our outro music was created by Kinsta.
Kirby Air Ride.
Wait, they announced a new Kirby Air Ride?
It's called.
How did no one tell me?
Yeah, it's literally called Kirby Air Riders.
Oh my god.